this old Thursday night going. There we are. Hopefully we're going to keep a good signal tonight. As you guys get in here, let me know you're here. Drop me a comment below. I'm going to kind of kill some time. Hey man, it was a beautiful day today, and I unfortunately did not get to spend it on the water. For those of you guys that ask about my wife all the time, she had her final surgery today. Today's kind of the end of the journey for us officially with all the cancer stuff with her. You know, she's been cancer free. She got through with her chemo and all that, but she actually had some reconstructive surgery today, and hopefully, Lord willing, that's the last thing we're going to have to do in this long road that has been fighting off the big C this year. So beautiful things happening today. It would have been an awesome day to fish. Warm weather, warm trend for a couple days, but I didn't get on the water today, unfortunately. So had some other things to tend to. All right, we're starting to see some comments here. Let me get those open. What is up? Ben Bossy's here. JD Sports Room. What up, playa? Big Pimpin'. Sam Halls is here. Merry Christmas to you, Sam. Thank you. Merry Christmas to all you guys. This is our, hey, this is the Christmas live stream. I will not have another live stream until after Christmas, so very Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Thank you guys for what Woo! Thank you guys for watching us all year and following along with the live streams. We really appreciate it. And sorry, I start reading comments and my mind doesn't go too well. I'm just a simple-minded fisherman, guys. I can't do two things at once sometimes, so mentally anyway. But yeah, Merry Christmas. Thank you guys for watching all year like you have and for following along the live streams. Really appreciate it. And we've actually got a Christmas video that I shot yesterday evening at night with a buddy of mine where we're going to have a special off-the-water, really focused on, you know, what Christmas is about to me and my family and what it means to us. That's going to come out on Christmas Day, so you'll have something to look forward to. Maybe distract you from some of the family that you may or may not like to be around for that long of a time. I don't know. That's up to you. It's however you feel. But yeah, we're coming out on Christmas Day with that one, and then we will resume the electronics instructionals for settings on downscan and mapping on the Guides Network on Wednesday. So that's kind of the schedule going forward. But hey, fishing has been better. It's been pretty good. I mean, it's getting a little better. It's always a grind in the winter. Don't get me wrong. It's never like go out there and hammer down. Today might have been because of the warm trend and the warm weather. And today was, I told my wife this. I said, baby, I know what you got going on is way more important, but you realize the day that we scheduled this is probably going to be the best day to fish the whole month of December. So that's okay though. But we've been grinding them out. So let's get into some top 5 baits. Get you guys set up for this weekend. It's going to be post-frontal this weekend, guys, so expect it to be tough. But I got some baits that I'm telling you guys, I'm using them a bunch, and I'm talking about them a bunch, but you know, I'm doing so because these baits work every single day. They're so consistent. You may not hit the biggest home run with them, but even on the toughest days, you can grind out some really nice fish on these baits. So, first, the jig. Wintertime tradition, black and blue jig. Right now, we're on a rage crawl. Next week, I might start going to the more straight-legged trailers like an LFT flipper or a chunk of some kind with the more flat legs that don't swim as much. Probably going to wait till that water gets into the 40s before I make that change. I like the rage crawl as long as the water's in the 50s. So, but that's a 1/2 ounce jig. I'm throwing that in the creek channels. Throwing a 3/8 ounce jig in some of these grass flats, just letting it fall down in the grass and the creek channel edges on the grass in the shallower stuff, and catching some fish on a 3/8 ounce jig up shallow as well. So jig is never a bad way to go in the wintertime. Next, you know, the most dependable right here, old crawfish trap. That's going to get you bit every day this time of year. You're going to get some bites if you grind out. If you get around good healthy grass and you throw this all day, you will catch fish. It's going to happen. I kind of feel the same way about this thing, except maybe this is going to get more bites. This is going to get bigger bites on average. So I'm really a big fan of the 6 Sense Movement ADX as well. And they haven't really been biting this one. I'm catching just a fish here and there on it. But as we get colder, this will become more of a player. The old ChatterBait, old dependable here. The colder it gets, the more of a factor this becomes for me in this wintertime grass fishing that I'm doing. And then with the post frontal this weekend, I'm going to head through this in here. Excuse me. Have a little allergies today. With the post frontal conditions that we'll have this weekend, I wanted to go ahead and throw the old wacky worm in there. Because I've said it time and time again, but it just rings true for me. When it's slicked off and bluebird skies and the fish just don't want to bite anything, I absolutely love a Wacky Rig trick worm. It will still get bites. Alright, let's see. Man, my nose is itching. Alan Soul Cruise left another video to watch the live stream. I appreciate that, Alan. And Alan, I think you asked me a question if I got new editing software earlier this week. It's the same editing software. I'm just trying to get better at what I'm doing, brother. That's all it is. Picked up the new 6 cents Crush 100Xs and some Quake Thuds. Yep, those are good baits, Nick. You will not be disappointed. You know, that's one thing I love about the sponsors I work with. And 6 cents exemplifies that. Maybe better than any of them. It just... There's nothing that I can recommend from them that you're going to be disappointed in. The baits do what they're made to do. They work the way they're supposed to work. They're high quality, top end type stuff. So, have I ever been ice fishing? I've never been ice fishing. Sam Cade says he loves Thursday. Now, we appreciate you, Sam. I've never been ice fishing, no. What hook do I use on the gliding gizzard that I talked about a while back? You know what? Honestly, I don't even know exactly what size it is because they come with hooks on them. When you buy the guiding gizzard, the gliding gizzard, that's right. The gliding gizzard, the hooks come on them. He goes through extensive processes to make sure the exact right hooks. He even adjusts whether or not he puts a split ring on there to balance the bait out, make sure it's absolutely perfect right out of the box. So I tend to not mess with them. You may have seen one that I had that didn't have hooks on it. That's because hooks had gotten dull on an older one, and I took the hooks off that one and put them on the one that I knew got bit. You know, swim baits are particular. When you find one that gets bites, you don't want to throw any other one. So I put the hooks off that one on a different one, but I don't actually even know what size the hooks are. There's some really big trebles. But the hooks they come with are perfectly weighted for that bait. Oh, man. Does the 80X have a tight wobble, and that's why it's so good during the winter? They're on sale on Tackle Warehouse for $5. If you can buy them for $5, you need to buy every one you can afford to buy. I'm serious. It is the most unique, dynamic crankbait, shallow crankbait you'll ever throw. No, it does not have a tight wobble. It is the opposite. It is the ultimate reaction bait. It wobbles so hard and bounces off cover, like it'll hit a stump in about 6 inches sometimes. It has such a hard, thumping, wide wobble and deflects so wide that it forces cold fish to react because it's in their house and it's making that much racket and it ain't supposed to be doing that. And you know, a bass is a dominant creature, and when something's wrong in his area, he's going to see about it. He's going to police it. But you know, he can't throw you know, jabs at him, so he's got to bite him. So it's just a pure reaction bait. You catch a lot of them on the outside of the face where they're just slapping at it. But it comes with such great hooks that it's just buy it, throw it, you'll learn it, you'll love it. That's all I can tell you, man. It's an incredible bait. I have not tried out the 6 inch rods, and I'm not going to be on the 6 inch rods program because I'm on the limit rods program. Somebody's asked me if I've tried out the 6 inch rods. Yeah, the way I like to describe this basically, this Movement 80X, it's a ChatterBait on steroids. It vibrates harder than a ChatterBait, and it's got 6 points of death instead of just 1. So that's kind of how I refer to it. ChatterBait on steroids with 6 points of death instead of 1. This guy that gives away iPhones is relentless, man. He's always on here. See if I can get up and get some of the questions that I've been missing. Texas rig. When do you use a straight shank worm hook, and when do I use an EWG? When I'm using a long bait, a worm, I tend to like a straight shank. When I'm punching, I like a straight shank. For my little creature baits, like a baby brush hog or crawl tube or something like that, my more compact baits, I like an EWG. I honestly haven't ever thought about why I do it like that. That's just the way I've always done it. In any instance, when I'm fishing a Texas rig, especially a light Texas rig, like 1/4 ounce or something like that, those fish hold that thing so long, and I'm setting the hook so hard, I don't think my hookup ratio gets greatly affected by either or. Odds of getting the hook in them when they're holding on to the bait and you're giving them time and you're hammering it home that hard, you're going to hook them most of the time. But the straight shank for me, the biggest time that comes into play is when I'm punching grass. When I'm punching grass, those fish don't hold the bait very long. I've got to set the hook extremely fast, and I've got so much cover that I want as big of a bite, which the straight shank offers a bigger bite, as I can get. Somebody's asking if Monticello is still any good. Man, I don't know. I haven't been to Monticello since, pretty well before Thanksgiving, so I have not been on Monticello in quite a while. Okay, hang on just a second. Trying to get back up here to some of the questions. On a black and blue jig, what do you think the bass are relating the colors black and blue to? Well, my black and blue jig, I throw it in dirtier water. So I throw it in dirty water, I throw it in deeper creek channels. So it's going to be darker down there. The water gets dirtier in the wintertime than it does any other time of year. There's actually a scientific reason behind that. There's some microorganisms that actually help filter the water out. Well, they die off or go dormant in the cold water, so the water stays dirtier, more accumulates more dirt, more color, more stain in the wintertime. That's why black and blue, one of the reasons black and blue becomes so prevalent. The other reason is crawfish do get a very dark with blue highlight color to them in the winter. So it's imitating crawfish in a way. And like I said, it's in that deeper water, it's in that darker water, and it's just about helping them see it. I'm throwing it in such thick cover in the edge of those creek channels in, 20 foot sometimes, that a darker profiled bait just shows up better. So I don't know that they're relating the color to anything, but they can see the harder profile, the hard color, the dark color better in those situations. Jeremy says he asked for a trip with me for Christmas from his wife, so we'll see. We'll see what your wife does for you, brother. I hope it works out. I know I want to see you guys again. We have a lot of fun. The white chatterbait, I do throw it all winter, absolutely. Somebody asked, do I throw the white chatterbait all winter or do I change to other colors? I basically throw two colors in the wintertime. It's white and green pumpkin are the two colors that I throw in the wintertime. Usually when the water's really clear, I tend to go to that green pumpkin. When it's got a little stain in it, I like to throw white, or on a cloudy day. I'm definitely not fishing tomorrow. It's going to rain like 2.5 inches here tomorrow, so I'm not fishing. Somebody asked if I'm fishing tomorrow. If I was fishing tomorrow, I'm starting every day right now, guys. Every morning I'm starting with the old black and blue Flippin G. And that's irregardless of cloudy, sunny, whatever. I'm getting up in those deeper creek channels first thing in the morning with those washed out outside bends and those big oak stumps, and that's where I'm starting every day. what brand Flippin Jig. This one that's in my hand is a Santone, but mostly I've been throwing the 6 Sense Divine Hybrid Jig. Santone jigs are fine too, though. There's nothing wrong with them. Do I have a video on how to fish jigs? Yep. So I'm going to make another video pretty soon, probably in January, about jig fishing. But I do have a video on how to fish jigs. It came out last January, and I actually got a legend, a Texas Fishing Hall of Famer, to do a jig fishing instructional alongside me last year, Mr. Mark Stevenson, a guy that at one time held the Texas state record that he caught on a jig. Arguably the best jig fisherman in the history of the state of Texas. Did a jig fishing instructional last January with me. I think it's just labeled how to catch giant bass on jigs or something like that. But if you search back on my channel page far enough, it's from last January. Shad Drum color. Yep. Shad Drum color. That's what color this is right here. That's Shad Drum. That's my favorite color, Movement 80X. ChatterBait brand. Man, honestly, so these days I can't tell you. I can't tell you what it is, but I've moved. That's a Z-Man right there. But see, Z-Man did something. Z-Man changed their snap to this. It's different than it used to be. See, it used to be a snap like this. But now, it's this. And there's a different weighting there. That's a thicker gauge metal. And I know what they did. They did that because these break sometimes. But they changed to this, and now with the current blade setup, head setup, and this, it doesn't vibrate at slow speeds. So basically this, it's trash. Done with it. You got me on my soapbox. So I'm done with Z-Man. I've been looking for a reason to quit using their stupid breaking piece of junk bait anyway. They had the vibration right, where it vibrated at a real slow speed, had the right amount of vibration, and it got a lot of bites. They put that different snap on there and totally screwed up a great thing. So once again, Z-Man, way to go. This, I can't tell you where I get this because I'll get somebody sued by those douchebags, but this is a head of a bait that I'm using, okay? If you guys want to know where I get this, you'll have to text me on my personal phone number one-on-one. I don't mind telling you, but you can't order it online because somebody will get sued. So, but this is my new ChatterBait head. It doesn't even have a skirt on it. I got to put skirts on it, but they sell them with skirts and all that where I get them. But anyway, top secret ChatterBait brand is what I throw. That's what we're gonna call it. Z-Man is just so irritating. Golly. When is it too cold for topwater, or when do you put it up for the season till the spring? Well, we've reached the time where day in, day out, it is too cold for topwater. That happened to me when the water gets down in the lower end of the 60s and it's on a cold trend. I don't throw topwater anymore. Once we break over into the high 50s, somewhere in that area. But if you're on a warm trend, okay, I'm going to put the topwater back on, the buzzbait, the frog, stuff like that. What happens is, on a cold trend, the warmest water is a little bit deeper, so the fish go down. But on a warm trend, like today, would have been a good day to go throw a buzzbait, honestly. Today, as the water has been warming for a couple days, and the warmest water is the most shallow water, those fish will get up in that dirt. And at that point, when they're in water this deep, okay, and a buzzbait's that close to their head, they'll bite it out of reaction, out of irritation. It's something loud, like the Movement 80X. Loud, making a lot of racket, not supposed to be doing that there, and it's in their area, so they bite it out of reaction. And the wintertime buzzbait bite on a warming trend is one of the most vicious bites you'll ever experience. like I said, I've hinted at it a couple of times. People think I'm crazy, but I catch fish almost every January in a, 2 or 3 days every January. There'll be the right weather situation where I hammer them on a buzz bait in January on fork. So, like I always say, pay attention to conditions, pay attention to the details, listen to nature, listen to the fish, and try to exclude all your preconceived notions. And sometimes you'll be amazed at what can happen. So the answer to when do I put the topwaters up? Honestly, never, but I have to have the right situation. Rayburn in late February, you're going to have a little bit of spawn going on. You're going to have some pre-spawn going on. Lipless crankbaits, that lake's famous for them, chatterbaits. Some of the stuff we're talking about now, guys, as we get into the winter, we're basically fishing pre-spawn conditions. And these patterns will be really consistent. It's one of the reasons I love winter. The patterns stay really consistent throughout second half of December, all of January, and even through most of February. For the most part, the patterns stay really simple, consistent. The fish are doing the same thing. The pre-spawn is a long, extended period here in Texas because we don't get, 30-degree water. We don't get ice on the lakes most years, so that's just kind of how it goes. Now, there'll be various things that change from day to day, like I said, with the current weather patterns. But, I'll tell you one thing about Rayburn. The mouth of the Angelina River, is where they start spawning first, in my experience. So the mouth of the Angelina River has a bunch of big grass flats with some drains and ditches in it. That's my favorite place to fish in January and February. Now, once you get into late February, you can start getting some of those patterns going on all over Rayburn, even on the south end, depending on what the weather's doing at the time, of course. But, yeah, so you should have some pre-spawn to spawn going on, and I would look for exactly what I'm talking about. The areas where those fish have access to really shallow water on warming trends, areas that they're going to be wanting to spawn in, I'll be looking for those type of areas and throwing the lipless baits and the chatterbaits and the Movement 80X, things like that. On a cold front day, put a jig in your hand and go to work. So basically the same type of stuff we're talking about tonight, honestly. I do not night fish there. I don't night fish during the summer. I don't like night fishing very much. I do it every once in a while. I don't like it though. Spawn in February. Somebody says spawn in February. Really? Well, Rayburn is a good 4 hours south of here. I caught the first bedfish that I actually looked at on a bed, visually saw him locked in, caught him on Lake Fork this past spring on February 18th. So if I can catch a bedfish on Fork February 18th, fish will spawn in January on Rayburn sometimes, depending on the weather. So yeah, February, it could be fully on by then, depending on the weather. The Angelina River, where the Angelina River feeds into Rayburn. The Angelina River is the main river system that feeds Sam Rayburn Reservoir. And at the mouth of that, you'll see it. If you look on the map, you'll see where it spreads out and gets real flat, real wide. There's a bunch of big grass flats up there and a bunch of drains. Now, this information I'm giving you is years old. I have not been to Rayburn in many years. 15 years maybe. I was a kid the last time I was on Rayburn. But the mouth of the Angelina River does spread out and create some big flat areas that are, the type of areas I'm talking about that warm trend the right way. I'm about 30 minutes. I have a 30-minute drive daily. Somebody asked me if I live right near Lake Fork. I actually have a 30-minute drive to Lake Fork every day. Is the rain tomorrow going to affect the grass fishing? Yes, it's going to affect it. The rain we had earlier in the week and the rain that we're going to have tomorrow, especially as the water continues to dirty up and rise. It's probably going to be, this weekend, guys, it's probably going to be brutally tough, but that's where this comes into play. Whoa. That's the new chatter jig right there. Don't y'all worry about that. The movement jig. That's the movement jig right there. But that's where this crankbait, on those really, really tough days, I grind it out with it, and I don't catch very many, but I still catch really good fish. And then the chatterbait, too. The chatterbait becomes something that I can pick up when it's extremely tough and still get a few bites. What conditions do I consider perfect for throwing a glide bait? Perfect for throwing a glide bait to me would be about a 5-mile-an-hour wind, bluebird skies, a 5-mile-an-hour south wind, bluebird skies in mid-November. You know, I really thought that the glide bait bite was going to go off this fall, the way the grass was set up and everything. And, you know, for whatever reason, it just never did. I think we stayed warm enough throughout November that the grass never died back where you could kind of fish that glide bait over it. We had a lot of grass growing too high to be able to fish the glide bait efficiently, and that may have been what happened. But for whatever reason, the glide bait bite just did not really happen for me this fall. But my best time on glide baits have been in the month of November on Lake Fork, bluebird skies, and just a little bit of a wind. What patterns do you use in ponds during the winter? Honestly, guys, that rattle trap and that chatterbait, it's going to catch fish everywhere you go in the wintertime. Anywhere you go, those baits will catch them. But a jerk bait comes into play in a pond a lot too. And, you know, in ponds, a lot of times I think we overthink it. You can just throw an old Texas rig worm out there year round and catch fish in ponds a lot of times. All right, here's a good question. So not sure how much info you give away, but I come to Fork every year a few times, have never been able to figure out Glade Creek. How do people fish that giant flat area? What are they targeting? Well, if you watch Wednesday's video, last night's video, where I talk about the shallow flats and the subtle depth changes in the outside creek channel bends, that actually directly relates to Glade Creek. In fact, we were sitting at the mouth of Glade Creek when I was talking about it, filming it. But it's all about the depth changes, the little subtle depth changes. Anytime you have an expansive area like Glade Creek, you have to find subtle differences in the bottom contours, and those are going to be the areas that stack up your fish. The areas that have the most dynamic and the most amount of subtle depth changes are going to be your better areas. Those fish are naturally going to congregate to those areas. That's one of the biggest challenges in finding fish is when you got an area that you know holds them, but it's a really big, expansive area and there's a lot of grass and a lot of cover like there is all over Fork, and especially Glade Creek. Finding the needle in the haystack is the toughest part. It takes time to learn how to do it. It takes time to do it every time you do it. So it's a time-consuming process, but you have to focus on the changes. Something different. Something that stands out that will hold a fish. Is Monticello still a hot water? You know what, guys? You keep asking. Monticello, to my knowledge, what I heard originally was they were going to stop generating on January 1st. Now, from what I understand, the lake had gotten really low here lately, so they must have been generating without pumping any new water in. I don't know what's going on in Monticello because I haven't been out there, man. Honestly, I just haven't. Somebody asked me on Monticello, will it destroy the fishing when they close it? It will not destroy the fishing. What will make the fishing very difficult is if the lake gets extremely low, which it's looking like it's going to do. I even heard a rumor they were going to open the gates and level it out with Bob Sandlin, which it's connected to. If they do that and it drops 7 feet, which is what they're saying it will drop if they do that, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if we'll be able to launch a boat. That's a bigger threat to me than the temperature. Temperature-wise, it's not going to destroy the lake. It's going to make it fish differently. If anything, it might let those fish live a little longer and actually get bigger, so we could start catching even bigger fish out of Monticello as the water gets colder. The numbers that you catch will probably go down some. So all speculation. Honestly, it's just one of the things we're going to have to wait and see. Like I always talk about, go out, pay attention to the day, fish the best you can, and see what happens. It's going to be some changing conditions out there for sure. It's definitely going to change. hey, it's been a good one tonight. You guys knocked it out the park. We had a lot of people watching. We got a lot of questions tonight, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Like I said, Christmas episode coming out on Christmas Day. It's going to be completely different. It's going to be not filmed on the water. It's going to all be filmed off the water, but it's going to be, you know, what Christmas really means to me and my family. And man, I can't say thanks to you guys enough. You guys are awesome. I say this, said it a few times, but I truly mean it. I don't have the biggest audience, but I honestly feel like I have the best, and that's because of what we focus on. We're trying to help each other catch more fish, and we're loving our fellow man, and that's what it's all about, man. That's what my life revolves around these days, and I really appreciate you guys. We got some exciting things that are going to happen in 2018 through limit fishing. We're going to start offering you guys some product that y'all can purchase through my website. Hopefully, if I can get all the website stuff done by January 1st, that'll be available here in just a week or two. But big things coming. I'm going to continue to give you guys as much help as I can. I'm going to continue to do the best I can for y'all. And I know you guys are going to keep doing the best you can for me, helping us grow the channel, telling everybody you can about it. So thank you guys so much. Can't say thanks enough. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.